Hey everybody, this is the Drink64 and welcome to my review for Triple Threat. So, let me just go ahead and start off by saying, and I just want to get straight into this because I don't want there to be any confusion, honestly. So let me just start off by saying I like Thorax, and I like Ember. I liked both of their episodes last season, and I consider their episodes to be the two best Spike episodes that the show has ever seen. They are not my problem with this episode. At least individually they're not. To be honest, if it just revolved around one of them individually, if it was just an episode about Ember coming to Ponyville, or just an episode about Thorax coming to Ponyville, it wouldn't be bad at all. In fact, it'd be a pretty decent, good episode. But it's because the episode focuses on both of them at these characters at the same time, tries to mesh them together, tries to balance it all out, and it doesn't work. And I think it really weakens the episode a lot more than I would like it to. That's just my opinion. This episode also has a new writer, at least I think it does. I'm not so sure, but maybe I could give it a pass, but then again, looking at other episodes by new writers, I don't really think so. That doesn't really excuse it from my problems with this episode. In case it isn't obvious, I didn't really like this episode. It was definitely one of the weaker episodes of the season, which was such a shame because it was a Spike episode, and Season 6 gave us some great ones, so Season 7 isn't really starting off with a bang, not really gonna lie. It's also a bit weird, but the name itself just seems really off to me. I assume the triple in the name refers to Spike, Ember, and Thorax, which makes sense, but what was the threat in the episode? I know it's a weird question, but in the whole episode there wasn't really a threat. Unless they were just a threat to each other, in which case there was nothing to indicate that. It just doesn't seem right to me. It just is a really weird name. There was no real threat. It's not like, Ember or Thorax went rampant and started destroying Ponyville. Nothing like that. They just, I don't know, Spike was just very oblivious in this episode, and that's kind of led to the conflict, I guess. I guess it wasn't really a threat or a conflict. It's really awkward. So the episode revolves around Spike inviting Ember to Ponyville to teach her more about friendship, which I'm okay with. I like Ember and I'm glad we get to see her again, even though we did have to deal with a certain other changeling in this episode, since Spike also invited Thorax over on the same day. Now again, I want to make it clear that I like Thorax, but the fact that this episode put both of these characters together and tried to balance it out is kinda what ruins the episode for me. I get what they're trying to do though. They're taking the characters from Spike's last episodes, Gauntlet of Fire and The Times They Are a Changeling, and putting them both together, pretty much coming full circle with these Spike episodes, and while I'm okay with them being friends by the end of this, that's fine with me, okay? Thorax and Ember, perfectly fine with them being friends now, although it's a little bit weird. I would never have ever expected them to even meet, let alone become friends, so yeah, I'm not too bothered about that. But the way they go about it in the actual episode is just so cluttered. It feels like such a mess, and in that sense it just sort of falls flat, and it just really fails for me. I don't really know. The only reason I'm not going to call this episode garbage, however, is because I certainly liked some of the jokes in the episode, and I do happen to like the fact that they're now friends, okay? It means we're going to be seeing, well, we're obviously going to be seeing more of Thorax, but it means we could probably be seeing more of Ember, which is great. There's also a bit of foreshadowing in this episode, which I will get to, but let's get into one of the main reasons why I dislike this episode, which is Spike. Spike in this episode is one of the reasons I hate it. He's so stupid, so oblivious to some of the most obvious things. For whatever reason, he thinks there's going to be some kind of changeling and dragon war, which, why? I don't know. To me, it's just so dumb that he wouldn't think Thorax and Ember would like each other just because they have different personalities. I mean, you have 6 friends who have completely separate and different personalities who, became best friends, so why would he even think this in the first place? I mean, they've never met either, so it's not as if changelings and dragons have had conflict in the past. It's just so weird. Why would it go so far as war? Why would Spike even think this? Why does this stuff go through his head? It just really confuses me. This episode is just so off in that direction. It's just so weird. I don't know, I thought Spike was pretty stupid in this episode, and honestly, the entire idea behind this episode could have been avoided if he just introduced them both, which would have been the best idea. I mean, sure, he didn't mean to invite them on the same day, but that's an even better chance for Ember, who came to Ponyville to make friends, could have made friends with a changeling? I really don't know. There's just so many better ways you could have gone through with this. It could have been an episode about teaching Ember the friendship ways, I guess you could call it, and having her become friends with Thorax, have them hang out, have them do some stuff throughout the episode, maybe have them go through some antics, and that could be what the episode's about. Maybe the triple threat could be Spike, Ember, and Thorax doing some bad stuff, or maybe just going kind of haywire, you know, trying to become friends. I don't know, you could have gone through this episode so many different ways, and I don't think the way they went through the episode, or actually, you know, portrayed the episode, didn't go so well. So many better ways they could have done this, I'm just saying. To me, Spike is the low point of the episode, which is such a shame, since it's really his episode just as much as Thorax or Ember. On the other hand, Ember was definitely the high point of the episode. So, I gotta admit, while I don't like the stuff on how they balance the episode between Thorax and Ember, I like some of the stuff that comes from Ember. Coming after the likes of Fame and Misfortune last week, though, they were pointing out jokes of the show. You know, stuff such as Twilight was better before she had wings. Now you have this episode poking some of the fun at the tropes of the show, with Ember commenting on Starlight and Twilight being similar, which I guess in some ways is true. I mean, Starlight, Twilight, Glimmer, Sparkle, yeah, I guess it's pretty similar. Although I would say Starlight and Sunset have a lot more in common. I mean, yeah, not only are their names similar, but I don't know, just their backstory is so much more similar. But I guess we can't get Sunset in Equestria unless you count the Equestria Girls specials, but that was kind of the opposite to what we were expecting. But anyway, this isn't about them, so yeah. She also pokes fun at the end of the episode at how they always tell each other exactly what they learned at the end of the episode, which I found to be just perfect. I, you know, always thought that was pretty weird, how they just say out loud what they learned. It's not really weird so much as, I don't know, they had to poke fun at it at some point, please, and I'm so glad Ember did it. I love that the show is doing this as well, just poking fun at itself, because at this point it pretty much can. This is probably why Season 7 is really shaping up to be just as good as Season 5. Maybe even better if the rest of the season can do it. I mean, I'm really excited. Some of the episodes that we got coming up look awesome. We have freaking Zecora episodes, might I add, coming up, which, thank you Hasbro so much. More Zecora. And we're also getting more Daring Do episodes and something more interesting that I'll get to in a minute. But yeah, maybe even better than Season 5, I'd say, if the rest of the season can do it. Now, speaking of the episodes that are coming up, one thing I do want to point out in the episode, and they sort of pushed it aside pretty quickly in the episode, making it seem like nothing, but trust me, it's not nothing. It's important. It's going to come into play later, and maybe even later on after that, we'll see. So, when Thorax was basically explaining to Spike in the episode about his problem, we didn't really hear too much of it. But we did something very interesting. He mentioned a group of renegade changelings who still feed off of love. Wouldn't be a big deal, but since we're getting an episode in a few weeks, not for a while, but in a few weeks we're getting an episode going over that exact issue with Thorax's brother, who's the leader of these renegade changelings, and it's about them who are still evil, so something has to be done about them. I don't know, we're getting a Thorax episode with this sort of story, so that's interesting. It's really nice foreshadowing, and I love it when shows do this, when they sort of, you know, insert some kind of idea in an older episode, and then more episodes later you get this overarching thing where it just all comes into play, and it's really awesome that they're doing this with this show, because how rare is it that overarching stories are a thing in this show? It's so beautiful. And, you know, I've always wanted it to be a thing in the show where they have an overarching story, and it's not a proper overarching story, I get it. But it's something. The changelings have been going on since Season 2, but since Season 6 we've had them appearing in backgrounds, we've had them having their own episodes. It's just so good. The changelings are their own overarching story in the show, and I love it. You know, we're obviously not done with the evil changelings. As long as there's, you know, as long as some still feed off love, and Queen Chrysalis is obviously out there, we'll see them again. Maybe we'll end up getting that Chrysalis and T-Rex team up. I know that was rumoured a long time ago, but I really want it. I don't know, maybe we'll see them again in the season finale, or maybe that feels too soon. Season 8, maybe. I mean, the season finale for this season seems like it's going to be something completely different, so I don't really know. But yeah, we're definitely going to be seeing the changelings again, which is awesome. I mean, there was no doubt we would, but, you know, good to know we have confirmation, and also Thorax's brother. That's interesting, and he said something happened with his brother. Again, foreshadowing to a lot of backstory we're going to be getting, I hope, so I'm looking forward to it. The Changelings, as much as I hate the new design, I can't stress that enough. I like the story they're taking with it, so I don't mind. So one last thing I actually want to go into before I end this is Spike can be called by the map suddenly. Since when? Since when can Spike be called by the map? They didn't even take a bit of time to explain it, no one acted shocked. His spikes just start glowing and everyone's okay with it. Since when could Spike be called by the map, please? Did it happen in the comics? Maybe it happened in the comics, I don't know, because this really doesn't make sense. I haven't been reading any of the recent comics. I think I'd stopped at about 40, 41, so yeah. But that's really just a really solid nitpick for me. I don't really know, but I find it kind of weird. And I don't think he was called by the map in any other episodes, so yeah. Overall, aside from a few nitpicks and legitimate reasons as to why I dislike this episode, I can see both sides of it really. It's not one of the worst episodes I've seen, believe me. There's bad episodes of this show, and if you want me to, you know, give examples, go watch Philly Vanilli. That episode is trash. But it's certainly one of the weaker episodes this season, I'm not gonna lie. Overall, that was Triple Threat. It was a thing that happened, and we're gonna forget about it, because, hey. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.